Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Steelers preview. As we've talked about all offseason, the Steelers are not playing. We're previewing whatever we feel like previewing. Last week, it was the 2019 Steelers draft class. We went position by position, player by player. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you go back and listen or watch on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube. Search BTSC Steelers Radio. But this is not a solo show. I am joined by two friends of mine and also colleagues. First and foremost, Bryan Anthony Davis. How's it going, Bad?
I am doing great, and I'm doing even better now that you acknowledged me as a friend. That's a first for you, Jeff.
Oh my gosh! That. You see, it goes right to his head. I immediately feel like I shouldn't have said that, but now
I'm gonna be showing up in your house.
I'm gonna have to download some editing software just so I can eliminate that from record. All right, Dave Schofield, what's going on?
Not too much. It's nice to know that it's bad this week. Didn't know if we were back to sad or mad or dad or glad or
different types of Bryan to deal with now. I don't know.
I feel like I'm in an old Sesame Street cartoon. That
or you're reading a Dr. Seuss book. Okay. Either way, welcome to the Steelers preview. If this is your first time tuning in live on YouTube, make sure you join us in the live chat. We've got a great little community there. People like Wes Hickok, who's joining us from Burlington, New Jersey. He is a regular, and so is Ty and all these people. Nap 1963, who met the dynamic duo here. Am I right? That was he met you individuals at the Buffalo game. We'd rather not talk about that game, especially Dave, when it comes to that.
Don't get me started.
Nelson interception. Go ahead.
And Nap being from Johnstown will know what this jersey is too.
Johnstown. He's wearing his Isaac Redmond jersey. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead and explain yourself so that people understand what you're wearing if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah, so the 1983 film All the Right Moves, starring Tom Cruise and Craig T. Nelson. They played for the Ampipe Bulldogs, and this is an Ampipe Bulldog jersey. Great movie if you've never seen it. Good football movie.
Yeah. Okay. We want to get started with the Steelers talk. For those that are joining us live on YouTube, make sure you chime in on the live chat. If you want to put in a super chat and donate some money to the program, you can by tapping that little money sign next to the comment bar. All donations go directly to the show, and we truly, truly appreciate it. But if you don't want to do that, you can just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and set up your notifications so that you never miss a show. As you can see that on the scrolling banner. Thank you, David. Now, let's get started with a question that's kind of newsy, but it didn't happen. So there was no news. We all felt there was going to be news. And that was the fact that even Art Rooney II stated that Mike Tomlin was probably going to solidify his coaching staff, i.e. a wide receivers coach, while in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl. And that didn't happen. If it has happened, it hasn't been announced and made public. And let's be honest, guys, when was the last time news broke and it didn't get released in Pittsburgh by someone like Jerry Dulac, or even now Colin Dunlap of 93.7 The Fan? Like, they're getting involved with spreading some of these news. They were the ones that said about Matt Canada being the quarterback's coach prior to it being announced by the team. Guys, why in the world haven't they figured out what they're doing with the wide receivers coach? Dave, we'll go with you first.
That's a really good question, because it shouldn't be an issue of if Coach Sherman was going to be staying on, because if that was it, they would just announce they were removing the interim tag.
I agree.
So, they said they were going to the Senior Bowl to even look for stuff there. The only thing I could possibly imagine is that they are interested in somebody on two teams that are still playing.
That's something I hadn't even thought about. Good point. What about you, Bryan? What do you think?
I'm perplexed, because you don't think that they are going to keep Richard Sherman. Hey, I'm one of those guys that remember the disaster that Richard Sherman was when he was the offensive coordinator of this team, and he ruined Cordell Stewart. And he did help ruin Cordell Stewart. He was trying to make
Cordell Stewart also had a lot to do with that.
But
I don't think Ray Sherman threw those interceptions in the 2001 AFC Championship game, or 1998, just so we're clear.
His deal was trying to turn him into a drop back quarterback. But with that being said, we did see disarray with him at the helm last year. I mean, that could be for a lot of reasons. And one of those reasons, of course, not having your franchise quarterback. But you would think that they would need somebody. Like I said, I've been perplexed. But now that thought that maybe it's somebody in Kansas City, or it's somebody in San Francisco. I mean, that could be a possibility.
Absolutely could be a possibility. And I agree with everything that Dave said, especially the fact that if they were going to just say, look, we're keeping the staff the way it was when we finished 2019, they would have stated that. Because Mike Tomlin, for as little as he says, according to Bryan Anthony Davis about certain topics, he was very open about the fact that it was still considered an interim tag, that they were going to keep their options open and that they were going to see what's going to happen. And I didn't realize that down at the Senior Bowl, that not only are they looking at prospects, but a lot of coaching hires are made there. I had no idea that takes place, but that's one of the reasons why Art Rooney said that Mike Tomlin was probably going to solidify his staff while down at the Senior Bowl. Everything kind of comes together. So we'll see how that breaks down and whether news breaks sooner or later. It might be after the Super Bowl, like Dave suggested, in which case, make sure you're checking out BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. We will have that for you whenever that news breaks. Dave, did you have anything else to say about that, or are you good?
No, I don't really know well enough to say that, that I even had someone in mind for either of those two teams. I don't really know who would be a good candidate for them, other than a former Steeler, and I don't know that that's the best route to go. So I know some people would like to have the name Hines Ward as the wide receivers coach, but I think the Steelers have found that sometimes former players are not always the best fit on the coaching staff. I don't
Joey
know.
Porter. Sorry, I had a little tickle in my throat. Carnell Lake.
I mean, would you call Joe when Joe Green was a coach?
You watch your mouth, Dave. You watch your
I'm
mouth.
I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that. I'm just asking
hang him high in the streets.
I'm just asking the question because honestly, I don't really. I mean, what years was that? I'm trying to remember when that even was.
Well, Bryan, you would know this. He was the defensive line coach, but then he flexed like a scout at some point, and he was still a part of the organization. He actually has 6 Super Bowl rings because he was a part of all of those teams, whether it was in the scouting department or as a coach. He coached for Noel.
Noel. Ended up in Arizona and Miami.
I don't think when Cowher came in, he was not on staff. But then he came back to the Steelers as a scout, and he was helping with the scouting department.
Late 80s, early 90s when he was the coach of the defense.
Yeah, and I'm, like I say, I'm not saying that was a good or bad hire or anything. I'm just saying he's the first one that I think of when it comes to former players that became coaches. And it's not like he then stuck around for years upon years upon years.
I always use the example of Wayne Gretzky. The greatest hockey player to ever live. You just can't deny the statistics. Wasn't that great of a coach, because a lot of people that when they are that good, they sometimes just did it. Like they just went out and played. Like, I'm sure Mean Joe is like, all you got to do is just go do this. Just go do it. And some players, you got to coach them, you got to teach them how. And sometimes that's tough for people. I feel like Joey Porter was kind of that way because he's just kind of, I mean, my gosh, just go do this. I used to do it all the time. I can't do that because I need to practice. A lot of it comes down to teaching and coaching. They're very different things in terms of being able to play the game and being able to coach the game. But let's move on a little bit. Before we get into our topic and the headline today, someone asked earlier in the live chat, if I had it in front of me, I'd bring it up on the screen. But they asked if Bryan Anthony Davis, the king of all jerseys, he was even cool enough to wear a Mike Mitchell jersey to the kick heard around the world.
Yes, I was.
It wasn't Mike Mitchell. I'm just joking. Do you have a Cordell Stewart jersey? Was the question.
I have an old cheapie from the Value City days.
So is that like what brand would that be? Hutch?
Russell, maybe? Hutch, that's awesome. I think it might be a Russell. When they were doing Russell Athletic, but it was the the screen printed ones. My very first one from that inception was a Yancey Thigpen, which is my favorite. But I had Cordell. That's where I had the Richard Huntley jersey because I was getting these cheap too. So
there you go, Thaddeus Kennedy.
Yeah, so I actually do have a Cordell Stewart jersey. It's retired,
as it should be. And there's certain jerseys you just don't wear again. I have a Kendrell Bell.
Jarvis Jones is never coming back out.
I was gifted a Kendrell Bell jersey after he was Defensive Rookie of the Year, and I'm thinking, this is a great jersey. I can wear 97 for years. Nope. Never mind. It hasn't seen the light of day in a while. So,
97 is a great jersey to have now. You just have to worry about the name on the back.
Is.
I have a
Yeah,
97 jersey now. That's what I wear to the games.
Let me just say that I would never, ever, ever in a million years be one of those guys that takes the nameplate off a jersey and has it replaced.
No.
There are people that do that, and I'm not going to tape anything over it. It's just no. I'll save my money and I'll just buy a new jersey. Or I'll go to Bryan and get one that falls off a boat from China. We'll just miraculously pick it up out of the water, and there you go.
Hey.
So,
you know what? Back in those Value City days, I almost bought it. A number 56 Steeler Mike Vrabel jersey.
Nice.
That'd be a collector's item.
And I wish I would have bought it. And I was like, now I would have grabbed it. But no, I could have had one.
Not to get off on a tangent here, and we do this a lot, especially in the offseason, but there's a lot of discussion right now in the live chat about jerseys that have gone south quickly. And I can't think of anything more than Richard Gummy's jersey. And if you're just now, that's Mr. Antonio Brown. Hey, I said it before 2018. If someone came to me and said, Jeff, what jersey should I get? I would have probably said an Antonio Brown. He just signed that contract. It looked like he'd be there for the rest of his career. Guys, can you think of anyone else that their jerseys have soured so fast that you're like, wow, boy, that jersey, I can't wear that anymore. And
Martavis.
It's got to be a prominent player. Don't say Jason Worlds. Okay.
Well, I had a Martavis Bryant.
Okay, that's a good one.
I thought that soured.
James Harrison.
But did it? I still feel like
you could have had one early in that season. I mean, it's not anywhere close to Richard Gummy's.
I still wear one
for anybody else. No, but I think you can now get back to wearing those. But to finish up that season, if that was the jersey you chose to start that season, and then the way everything that played out with that, yeah, you weren't wearing that one at the end of the year. That's for sure.
Here we go. Question for both of you, because you've been to the stadium more than I have, and anyone in the live chat right now. What is the most ridiculous jersey you've ever seen at Heinz Field, or it could be anywhere? So like a jersey, like, wow, they have that jersey. Now, Bryan, I know you own several of those, but I'm saying like what you've seen on someone else. Like, what is that jersey? Holy cow. Like, it would be like your Vrabel. That would be the perfect example. That guy has a Steeler Mike Vrabel jersey. Dave, you said you have one. What is it?
Oh, yeah. And I think I've mentioned this before. It was when I was at the Monday night game in Washington, and I saw a Daniel Sepulveda jersey.
Yes.
Ooh.
The number 4.
I'm like, who would get a jersey for a punter in the first place?
And it's funny. That's exactly what Reed just said. I saw a Daniel Sepulveda once. That's incredible. What about you, Bryan?
Wow, I'm having a hard time thinking of the weirdest jersey I've seen. Like
a Gary Anderson number 1 or something.
That's not as bad.
It might have been family, but I saw a Shamarko Thomas once.
That's a good one.
It could have been family.
I mean, some people in the live chat are saying that they saw a Jeff Reed jersey. Kyle Smith said he saw a Dennis Dixon jersey. Ali says he saw a Sammy Coates jersey. So there's some out there. I think. Go ahead.
I almost bought the jersey of my favorite player that is no longer with the Steelers, and that's why I didn't get the jersey. I even had looked it up and was ready to order it, but I'm like, I don't know if they're going to bring him back. And that was Kelvin Beachum.
Yeah,
I loved that guy. I loved where he was drafted. I loved his footwork, how he worked hard to earn that job. And luckily for him, we got a 3rd round comp pick for him. But he was my favorite player. I thought he was just a great all around guy.
Yeah,
but that would have been a random jersey to be wearing at the stadium. Even when he was still on the team. But
couple in the live chat here. Case and Wright says a combat catch Kobe Hamilton. Wow, like that's a 1-year player. Like, I mean, my gosh. Then I love this from Wes. I saw a Chris Rainey once.
Wes, that was Chris Rainey.
Yeah, seriously. Is anyone out there rocking the Dree Archer? Anyone?
Yeah. Well, Logan said he saw the Chris Rainey. Oh no, he was laughing at the other one. I thought maybe he said he saw that one. Those are some pretty bad ones. I'm trying to think. I know I've seen some other bad ones, but the Sepulveda is the one that really stands out to me more than anything.
Incredible.
You know, it's
because someone paid for that. Someone, it might have been gifted, but someone actually paid money. For that. Here's the Thaddeus Kennedy says, I've got an Amos Zaraway jersey. If you're rocking a Zaraway, what number was he? 20?
21.
21. So if you're rocking a 21 0 into Heinz Field, are you proud of that? Or are you like, oh, this is the only jersey I have?
Then
I don't, if you can pull off if you can pull off the random jersey, like even if it's someone not still with the Steelers, but one that but if it's something that no one ever had, even when they played on the Steelers, I think that would still kind of be cool. Like this is what I had. So I don't know.
You know what was really funny? And the late Chris Henry, when he was with the Bengals, he used to wear his jersey to bars. He would wear his own.
How do you know that?
I mean, he was West Virginia and
yeah, right. Okay.
being West Virginia Mountaineer. So I had heard about that, and I think I read an article about him doing that.
That's pretty funny. And Reed says he still has a Deuce Staley jersey. So that one didn't. Honestly, let's be honest. We're talking about jerseys souring. The two quarterbacks this year did not have a good year.
No.
Yeah, Holly said, I saw an Artie Burns jersey this year. Hey, if you're a first round pick, I see people getting,
yeah.
But I mean,
people jump on those.
Devlin, Duck Hodges, Duck Dynasty, that took off, and I'm sure there were a lot. Did anyone see the video of the guy at the Jets game who was wearing a Duck Hodges jersey with the duck, and all of a sudden he gets taken out of the game? He takes it off. He has a Rudolph underneath, and he puts a Rudolph mask on. That was
great.
That was sweet. That was really good.
That was classic. All right, very good. Now let's go into our topic of today, and it is one that Brian Anthony Davis thought of. So if you don't like it, yell at him. I'm just joking. I agree. I like this one a lot. It's, are fans delusional if they think that next year's offense, because let's be honest, the defense is pretty solid, regardless of free agency and things of that nature. I still think they have a very good, very young core nucleus on the defensive side of the football. But the offense is a different story. And most Steeler fans are saying, once Ben comes back, we're fine. Everything will be fine. Is it that simple? Brian, we'll start with you.
You know what? I'm afraid it's not that simple. The offensive line is a little more worn. We're probably not going to see the big Ragu anymore, so no more Ramon Foster. That he's probably a cap casualty at this point. You had some wear on Villanueva. You had some wear on Marquise Pouncey. That might get a little bit better when Ben comes back, but it just seemed like that team was not together. The running game was kind of a mess. A lot of that had to do with the fact that they were relied upon too much, and then they were down, and you couldn't run with them. But then James Conner was hurt most of the way. We don't know what is up. How bad is Vance McDonald? I don't think he's that bad. I think he would have benefited. He's one guy that will benefit when Ben Roethlisberger comes back. But we still don't even know how good Ben will be when he comes back, how damaged he is. So there's a lot of there's just not one question mark. There's so many on that offense.
What about you, Dave? You agree or disagree?
I'm going to disagree with Brian. I don't know that it does everything, but I just think of all the little things that change because of the quarterback situation. I'm not saying that everything's going to be perfect and everything's going to go back to, let's say, 2017 regular season Steelers. I'm just saying is that there's so many different things. If you bring back Ben Roethlisberger, you're looking at not as many stacked boxes with the run game. If as long as Ben is effective, you're looking at not nearly as much as a pass rush, because Ben is smart enough and quick enough and experienced enough to diagnose it quickly and get rid of the ball if he's not going to have time, or do what Ben does and just elude the pass rush and still make the throw. So you're looking at getting the tight end possibly involved more. You're looking at an offensive coordinator and a quarterback that seem much more in sync than what we saw for 14 games this past year. So I think it heals an awful lot of wounds. Now, am I being delusional? Maybe I am. But there's so many different things that could be improved offensive line play, improved running game, improved use of the receivers and the tight ends. All these things I feel have a potential to get better just with Ben Roethlisberger and his reputation and his experience, and all of those things brought together.
See, for me, I think it's a happy medium between what both of you just said. There are a lot of concerns in a lot of places that Bryan mentioned, and that's absolutely right. Yet the impact of Ben Roethlisberger coming back to the team has a massive amount of consequences for the opposing defense as well. And let's not forget, when we're talking about the offense as a whole, we're talking about everything from the coordinator down to the players that execute on the field. And so you have to throw Randy Land, as I like to call him, into the equation. And even though Ben's back, what's that going to look like? This offseason for me and this offense in 2020 and moving forward until they prove otherwise is nothing but one gigantic freaking question mark, in my opinion. You lose Ramon Foster. Well, what are you going to do? Okay, well, some people in the live chat are saying we're fine with BJ Finney. Hello, people. BJ Finney is going to be an unrestricted free agent. You think the Steelers are going to be able to pay him what he's going to probably get on the open market? Not if they want to bring in anyone else. Not if they want to sign guys like Bud Dupree and or Vance McDonald, pick up his option. They are hard up against the cap. BJ Finney, in my opinion, is going to push himself out. And hey, good for him. Good for him, because he'll get a payday like, as you mentioned, Kelvin Beachum earlier in the show. Chris Hubbard's another one that have been backups. They got playing time and they got big contracts because of it. Now, with that said, you're leaving yourself handicapped, because if you lose BJ Finney, you have no interior line depth. So are you going to do the shuffle and Filer to guard? And then you have Zach Banner and or Chooks at right tackle. The tight end position, we talked about that on last night on the Standard is a Standard with, do you bring back Nick Vannett? And then what do you do elsewhere? Zach Gentry? This is a big question mark. It just is a giant question mark, this offense next season. It's driving me nuts because I love offense. That's my favorite one. If you listen back to the old Standard is a Standard shows, Lance did defense, I did offense. That was just the way it was. But Bryan, if you were to pin down what is outside of Ben Roethlisberger's health and his efficiency and his ability coming back, what is the biggest question mark for this offense in 2020?
The running back position.
Really? Okay, explain yourself.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is if you have part-time James Conner, that is not helping things. And then when James Conner comes back and then you lose him again in another game and a half, that's a problem. You also didn't have a fullback to help out there. So maybe Rosie Nix comes back and helps solidify that some more. You have some talent there, but you have a true RB1 right now. And can you honestly say that James Conner, as much as I love the guy, can you honestly say that he's a true RB1 right now with his health situation?
Absolutely not. No one in their right mind would say that.
So that's probably the problem.
Well, but here you go. I mean, he was in the Pro Bowl the year before. Some, how he was even injured the year before. Some want to know if, Pro Bowl sometimes is a popularity contest more than ability, but you have to at least have the ability to be considered. So we go from, we're fine with James Conner to a year later that, we've got nothing. I look at the running back position almost like you look at the wide receiver position right now when people want to say, is Juju really a number one? I'm like, well, if Juju's a number two, but he also brings out the best in Johnson and Washington, where they're both number twos, I don't mind having three number twos. Do we have three number two running backs? That's the question. Because I would be okay with three number twos. So, I mean, Benny Snell had a great year for a rookie on the Steelers. When's the last time a Steelers rookie? It would have been number 26. Had anything
2013
close to what Snell. I mean, usually when a guy comes in, especially drafted that late in the draft, you don't expect much of anything from them, especially to start. So there's potential there, but like I've said over and over about running back, when people keep saying, we have to draft a running back in the second round. No, we don't. We have to rethink how we want to utilize our running backs. Do we really need to have that one guy that's out there all the time? Or are we going to get enough from a bunch of them? I really liked Kareth White. A lot of people really like Kareth White and what he brought this year. Can you just utilize all these guys that you have for their maximum ability throughout the game?
So to me, if you're eliminating Roethlisberger from the equation, which is what I said, and Bryan, you bring up valid points, especially with James Conner's durability and health. To me, though, everything else is surrounding and revolving around the offensive line. Because James Conner has proven that if the holes are there, look at 2018, he can run the football effectively. He might still get hurt, and that's an issue. I do feel like they have depth, as Dave explained. But for me, it's all about the offensive line. And when you have the fact that we just talked about Foster could be out, who are you going to put in? If you lose BJ Finney, they're going to have to tender Matt Filer. They have to tender Zach Banner as well. I forgot about that. Am I right, Dave? He's another restricted free agent.
I'm not 100% sure, but that sounds very familiar. I haven't looked at it for weeks.
So I think it's the offensive line. They need to run the ball better. It's got to be more effective. Dave, what do you think? The one biggest issue.
Absolutely. I would not be disappointed at all if the Steelers' top draft pick this year was an offensive lineman, or if they make one move in free agency, if it would be on the offensive line. That's not the sexy pick that people like. It's not the sexy free agent acquisition that people like, but one move there could really make a difference. So I do think that if nothing else, they need to infuse youth, because the only starter last year, meaning started the majority of the games, the only starter that was under 30 was Matt Filer.
Yeah, no, you're right. They're getting long in the tooth, that's for sure. And hey, let's be at Bryan. The answer to their running back needs and concerns is on their roster. He just gave a car to his mom, old Frank Webb. That's
I was going to bring that up during the jerseys and ask him.
I tell you what,
got to get the Frank Webb jersey.
Frankie. His name's not Frank, although I've convinced myself that it is Frank. It's Fred, right? No, is it Fred?
It's Ralph.
It's Ralph.
Let the record show that was not a joke. I actually told myself in my head that his name was Fred.
So much.
It's not Frank, it's Fred.
Yeah, you tell a lie long enough, you start to believe it. You know what? It's going to be my goal to get Ralph Webb on this show. That is my next goal.
Go for it.
As long as you tell him there's a guy named Jeff, he's the editor of the website, produces all the podcasts, he's going to call you Frank. Just go with it.
He'll call you Tim Hartman.
I don't care. He can call whenever he wants.
We got to get Ralph on the show.
All right. So that
hey, Thaddeus asked a good question that said, instead of a move on the offensive line, why not just re-sign Finney? Because there's the possibility that the move could be less expensive. I don't know what Finney's going to command on the open market. That would be the thing. But I would like to keep BJ Finney personally. I really would.
I would too. And but to me, and I said this last night on the Standard as a Standard as we went over the offensive line potential free agent acquisitions, he would have to take a discount, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He would have to say, I think Pouncey only has like 2 years left. I love the Steelers because he was a Steeler fan before. Well, he was at Kansas State when we published that article when he got the phone call that he got signed by the Steelers. He was ecstatic.
Yeah,
he was so excited. So maybe he says, hey, I love this team. This is the only team I've ever wanted to play for, and I only want to play for. I will basically take a discount, and not everyone's willing to do that. And if they don't, I don't blame him at all. But for Finney's sake, I think that's the only way you keep him, period.
Well, I have a lot of respect for BJ Finney because
so do I. I'm not saying I do.
Well, no. When they did a Steelers Nation Unite live thing with him, he called my Twitter handle of Steelers Superfan Dad pretty legit because he answered my question, which was about that video.
I just lost all respect for BJ Finney.
As much as you guys bust me for my Twitter handle, he said it was pretty legit.
Bryan has
his Missy Matthews. So
Missy Matthews. I am the Missy Matthews of BTSC, they say. Anyways, Bryan Anthony Davis has his Twitter handle on his name underneath his picture. Dave, I think it's too many characters. I don't think you'd fit it there.
I mean, it would go to the probably. You'd have to get 2 laptops. So
no, we're gonna put it on the scrolls so we can run it underneath.
I'm on it.
Super pretty cool, awesome dad, #1 chief dad.
You forgot the pound sign in there somewhere. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, here's a good question from Jimmy Fowler. Okay. He says, if you had to choose one, BJ Finney or Hargraves, you can only keep one. Who are you keeping? I think I know who you all are going to pick. Dave, go ahead. Since you're perplexed, we'll put you on the spot. This is easy. This is an easy answer. It's easy.
Saying that you're keeping them both for basically if they both either one of them had the same contract.
You
know what I'm saying? No. I'm not saying keep them both. I'm saying, are you saying that we're keeping either one that we keep, it's going to be for the same amount of money? Like, I'm worried. I would say I'd like to keep Hargraves, but I also think that he would command more money than Finney. So that's why I think it's the longer shot to keep him. But if
let's go based on
like I say, let's just say if you could offer both of them the same contract, but only give it to one of them and keep one, I would keep Hargraves at that amount.
I was going to say, Dave, if you even said compensatory pick equation, I was going to mute your microphone.
No.
I was like, oh my gosh, this is such an easy answer. It's just one of the other. Brian, what is it for you?
I'm keeping.
Take that.
It's good, Dave. Who are you? Say that again, Brian.
I'm going to take Finney at this point.
Okay. Yeah, it's obvious. Yes,
is there? You have Alo. You have some talent on that defensive line. If you look at WAR, wins above replacement, let's look at something like that. I think you're better off with the offensive lineman. The defensive lineman right now is more replaceable.
Okay, here to me it comes down to this one question, and I agree with Brian, by the way. I think it's Finney. But if Stephon Tuitt did not get hurt this year, would Javon Hargrave have been playing his usual minimal snaps every single game? Brian, yes or no?
No.
Dave, yes or no?
He was already getting more than the previous year before Alo got hurt. Not Alo, before.
So you think he was slated to see more time anyways? He
was, but not nearly of what he ended up getting. And he had more sacks the previous year when he played less snaps.
Right. Because if you were to say that, he was just going to make his usual part-time position, I think it makes it an easy slam dunk choice that it's Finney. Because I think the Steelers aren't a nose tackle team anymore. They just aren't. They play so many sub packages and they don't even. So you've got Big Dan McCullers out there who we know he has naked pictures of someone in the organization because he sticks around forever. If you're only going to use him in goal line, well, there's your guy, So go ahead, Dave.
Now, my question is whether it's with the Steelers or whether it's not, who's going to be paid more? Who's going to get the bigger contract, Hargraves or Finney?
I think it'd be Hargraves.
Regardless
of where it is. He has more. And so he has more. He's shown more. So,
which is also the other reason where I would say it's easier. It would be easier to sign Finney, but I didn't want to go just by what was easier. But I mean, you'd like to keep someone with the talent of Hargraves, but it's going to cost more money, so I don't want to.
Absolutely agree. In fact, keep them both. That's just not going to happen. So, all right. Yeah. That was a good segment. That's a good headline there, Brian. You're so smart. Okay, let's go. Dave, trivia time. You got something for us, right?
Oh, yeah. I got a little something here. I couldn't think of anything good to look up. So I decided to look up when's the last time the Steelers did not make a selection in the first round of the NFL draft?
1966 or 67?
It was 67. It was 67. They didn't make one in 65 or in 67. And I got to thinking, what are the Steelers? It really does change your outlook, doesn't it, on what you're going to do when because to me, I kind of break down the draft as in your first round pick is who you want to end up being a Pro Bowler eventually. Your second round pick is a guy that you really want to be able to contribute soon. Your third round picks are guys that you're really hoping that maybe you found the right guy, but from fourth round on, sometimes those guys don't even make the team, especially when you get beyond the fifth round. So when you're losing those picks at the top, I'm wondering, it's just a whole different philosophy when you go into the draft. Just out of curiosity, any idea in that 1967 draft, what position they drafted with their top draft pick when they didn't have one in the first round?
I defer to Brian. Who knows it? Go ahead, Brian.
No, just. I mean,
I'll take a guess, but Brian can go first because he probably has an educated guess. Where I'm just going to be stabbing in the dark.
I'm going to say quarterback.
That they took the second round quarterback.
Is he correct? I doubt he's correct. But is he correct?
No, it's not correct. But you are on the right side of the ball.
I'm going to go with a receiver.
Okay. It was actually, believe it or not, a running back. that they drafted a running back in the second round, which I thought was odd because I've been having a lot of people scream at me for some reason that the Steelers have to take a running back in round 2.
Was it Preston Pearson?
This upcoming draft. So, no, it was. I almost was going to bust into song every time I see the name. It was Don Shy.
Don Shy.
You ever hear of him?
I have his jersey. I actually have his jersey. I have his jersey. Wearing it on. I'm wearing it underneath my sweatshirt as we speak.
Okay, well, or is it an Artie Burns jersey because he was number 25? So, but he only played 2 years for the Steelers, so which was one of those things. But I just found it curious. I'm like, where do you go? But I mean, this was pre Joe Green and all that other stuff.
Well, yeah, so no one knows who this guy is. Brian, do you have a trivia question?
No.
Brian's got to have something. You have a trivia question?
No, I didn't.
Oh my gosh.
Dave always bogarts this segment.
But we always go. We always just throw something out then. So I'm like, I thought I'd just go a little. I didn't know what else to think of, but I know a lot of people were like, what do you do in the second round when you don't have a first round pick? So that's what they did in the past, but I don't see history repeating itself.
Okay. In the 90s.
Jimmy is right. Don Shy was from San Diego State. That is correct.
Yeah, I knew that. Everyone knows that. That's common knowledge. Hello. Jeez. Okay. Brian, go. You thought of something. You're in that big brain of yours.
In the 1990s, the Pittsburgh Steelers picked up a free agent fullback who was a Pro Bowler for another team. Who was that?
In the 90s?
Yes.
90s.
That's not Kreider because Kreider was in the 2000s.
See, I keep thinking, no, they drafted him. The guy out of Penn State.
I don't know.
That's a
From
good
the
one.
Seattle Seahawks, they took John L. Williams. And John L. Williams, very good for this team in just a couple years.
No, I remember John L. Williams. I didn't realize that he was a free agent acquisition.
Yes.
So, hey, Snowman got it. Ron Reed got it in the live chat. Good for you guys. You're better than I am.
Yeah.
For now.
Good.
Now, I don't actually have anything for trivia tonight because I wanted to give our listeners a little taste of the after party. If you don't know that we actually, after this show's over, which will be in about 8 minutes or so, we like to have this show about 45 minutes. You're right, Drew. Drew says Jeff don't know nothing. I don't know anything. But you know what? Is that that looked like, you know what that looked like? His jersey he's wearing in that picture. It looked like he's wearing what is now, they brought back the cursive pirate jerseys. Did you see those, Brian?
Yes. I saw them.
Those are nice. They messed up the S though, but we'll talk about that later. So the after party goes on literally 5 minutes, maybe if that, after this show concludes. Now the audio, if you're listening in audio and you're like, I've never even heard this after party. I don't publish the after party until about noon or 1:00 p.m. on Friday. So you'll have that for your drive home. You can listen to the preview in the morning. Drive home, you can listen to the after party. But the after party, we do talk about Steelers stuff, but we also go off the rails and talk about other stuff. And so the next segment here that I have some really simple questions for these guys, it's kind of a tease as to what we do on the after party. So if you've never joined us, maybe you should join us today as we will have a Super Bowl edition of the after party. This is the week after El Busto edition, which I thought was a great one, by the way. Okay. You have to choose one or the other. Okay? One or the other. I was thinking about the Steelers Super Bowls, and I've only been alive for 4. Super Bowl 30 on. Which one hurt more? Super Bowl 30 or Super Bowl 45? Brian?
I'm going to say
a tough one.
45 hurt me more.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason being because Super Bowl 30, I was thrilled. I mean, Super Bowl 30 is one of my favorite Super Bowls, even though they lost. We were talking about this the other day on the playoff preview. But the reason that didn't hurt me as much is because there were a lot of moral victories in that game for me. And I know that's crazy, but I just loved the way they were 14-point underdogs and they were about to shock the world. It didn't happen. And I still felt pretty good about it because they were finally in there after 16 years. Super Bowl 45, they were in a way
horrible start to the game.
Horrible start. I mean, they were down 21-3, and here they were coming back. And they were on their way. I mean, that 2-point conversion. I mean, I was getting all excited when they got the 2-point conversion. Then Rashard Mendenhall, I don't know who's going to hold on to that football the way he was pancaked. And that ball was punched. I mean,
don't you give him an out, Brian. Don't you give him an out. He don't fumble the football in that situation. 2 hands on the ball.
All I know is that game hurt because you also had the situation where, all right, this is Ben's bread and butter. 2 minutes left. He's got a chance to come back, and they didn't. So that was a whole lot more disappointing to me.
Well, hey, you know what? It helps if Mike Wallace could catch the football on 4th down. Went right through his hands. Yeah. Right through his hands. Dave, what about you? 30 or 45, most disappointing?
It's funny. I'm going to say 45 because I've blocked so much of that from my memory. I don't even think about it. I remember more of Super Bowl 30 than 45.
I am right with you, Dave. I thought about that the other day. I don't remember much about 45.
But that's because 30 was the first time for me the Steelers were in the Super Bowl. I wasn't even 2 years old when they won their last Super Bowl. So to me, having what was
Brian perked up when you said you were 2. He was wait.
Like, what? I thought you were 60. I don't know.
So I never saw the first 4 Super Bowls. So it was the first time the Steelers were in the Super Bowl. And for me, growing up as a kid, it was just, and the way my dad is watching the game, all he talks about is he's so pessimistic about everything that I always felt like, well, the Steelers can't win the Super Bowl because that's just how I grew up. So I went into that game not even imagining that they could win that game. It would have just been nice if it was close. It wasn't a blowout. They didn't get embarrassed. And so to me, that was almost like a win that, wow, the Steelers did well. They covered. Yay. But 45, that was after 2 other wins had come. And it was one of those things that you expected. And like you said, it started horrible, but I just remember what I remember most from Super Bowl 45 is saying they started off so bad, the Steelers have the ball at the end of the game with a chance to score a touchdown to win. What more do you ask for?
Yeah.
And what more do you ask for? Execution. That's
not a horrible start. For them to
actually do horrible start. Yes, to not have the horrible start. So to come back to that was kind of heartbreaking to come all the way back.
The live chat is
the Steelers jersey. An original.
The live chat is hot tonight. All right. I'm going to say 45, and I'm with Dave. I've blocked out a lot of that game. I would actually like to go back and watch it. I'm sure it's on YouTube. I'll have to go back and watch it and get a feel for, the game itself, because I literally have only seen the live. I have not watched it since. I've never even looked at highlights. I don't want to watch them. Super Bowl 30, I was so young that I knew Troy Aikman and Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, but to me, there was only the Steelers. Like, I didn't know the NFL like I know the NFL now. And so people say, like, oh, we had no business in that Super Bowl. I didn't know. I knew my favorite team was in the Super Bowl. And we were talking one for the thumb, Cower Power, all these. I was just enamored with that team, loved that team. And I just want everyone to know that the reason why Brian says that is because he loves Neil O'Donnell deep down. Like, he thinks that Neil O'Donnell, if you ranking Steeler quarterbacks, Neil O'Donnell is like, if he goes Ben 1, Bradshaw 2, like Neil O'Donnell is probably 3, in your opinion. I'm not joking. Am I right, Brian? Exactly.
You're absolutely correct, because who else statistically is number 3?
Statistically,
I'm surprised Brian doesn't have him as number 1 the way he feels about Neil O'Donnell.
Seriously, who else is statistically number 3?
I mean, overall statistics are passing. Because Cordell Stewart overall would have more rushing yards, more receiving yards, and all those
receiving yards.
What? Those count?
No, he did, but
I know
he did, but not when he was playing quarterback.
I mean, as much as I love Bubby, are you going to put Bubby there?
No, Mike Tomczak probably.
Okay.
You should see Mark the Neil. No, now Dave has seen it. I've seen it. Bryan does have a shrine to Neil O'Donnell down in his basement, and there's candles. It gets a little creepy during the season, but ultimately it's nice. It's nice. He's got his 14 jersey up, and anyway.
Wow.
Okay. So that was a little taste of the after party. I actually have a lot more of these that we're going to do to start off the after party today, where it's with these Super Bowls kind of either or. And Bryan's going to fill us in on his etiquette for the game, meaning do's and don'ts for the Super Bowl party that you might be attending Sunday. And Dave, what are you contributing to this party? The cheese dip?
Usually I just sit here and stare at you guys as you talk. So that's what you said last week. So
well, Bryan was talking over you.
Dave's going to shake his fist at the cloud.
So, in other words, this show is ending. The Steelers preview is coming to a close, but the Steelers preview after party is starting in just 5 minutes. So if you're watching live on YouTube, stay close to your computer. The notification will be coming through quickly. If you're listening an audio platform, and if it's early in the morning on Friday, check us out in the afternoon, because the after party will be there and we'll be live. So check us out, gentlemen. Thank you for the first segment. We got one more to go. Here we go.